Good morning from the Disney Dream. It is 8 o'clock. We're about to leave our stateroom, grab breakfast, and head out. Ryder, has it been a great cruise? Has it been a great cruise?
I want to be on it again.
He wants to be on it again. So we've asked him, like, did the Oceaneers was better here or the Wish? He says the Dream. He says if you like the Dream or the Wish, he says the Dream. So according to him, the Dream is a better ship. We'll see when we're on the Wish, because I think when we're on the Wish, everything will be the Wish. But he said he liked the Oceaneers Club. Why did you like the Oceaneers Club here?
Because
you could connect.
Oceaneers Lab and Oceaneers Club was connected to each other.
Yes. So the Wish doesn't have the lab anymore, so it's just the one club. But this one has the Oceaneers Lab and the Oceaneers Club, and he could go in between and go back and forth. And he loved that. And what was your favorite part of the club?
The Millennium Falcon.
The Millennium Falcon, yes.
The only problem is if every 5 minutes it would break down.
It broke down? Well, it's a hunk of junk. And what's this?
Last night, after I got this, I guess,
because you finished the Muppet Detective, right? So you're a now midship detective, and you got the badge.
Yeah, I really like it.
That's awesome. Did you have a great time?
I also found it the first night at the
Okay.
Bye.
So we made it to our car, and this was probably the slowest it's ever taken us since the restart. It took us 45 minutes from when we left the ship to get to our car was 45 minutes, and getting to our car was the easy part. We did have a porter. So yeah, the line was really long, and we asked him, is it always this bad? He goes, this cruise line, yes, this ship, I guess that terminal, the way it's set up, that it's pretty slow. So we didn't have the computerized like checkout with the passport like the Royal Caribbean one does. So just plan for it. It took us a good 45 minutes from when we were exiting the ship to when we got to our car. So, but other than that, it was great. Ryder, did you have a great cruise? Yes, that's a yes. Honey, did you have a great cruise?
Yes, phenomenal.
And so stay tuned now for my recap. Okay, so I am back with my recap of our Disney Dream Cruise, and this is going to be a very quick recap. Going to kind of touch on some bullet points and kind of go day by day, but it's not going to be very intensive. What I would say is if you have questions, please leave them in the comments below. I like to answer, and then if I want to kind of come back and do a refresh as far as comparing or having questions, I will definitely do an additional video. We are setting sail on the Disney Wish on November 11th. So we're going back on the Disney Wish on November 11th for the very first Very Merry Time cruise. So very excited about that. And what I plan to do after that sailing is to do a comparison of the Disney Dream and the Disney Wish. Like, what are my thoughts on the comparisons? And I'm going to touch a little bit about that today, but I am going to do a comparison on, which ones we like, what things we like better, kind of like what I did for a Royal Caribbean versus Disney Cruise Line. And spoiler alert, it was a draw. But I think there's things that I liked on the Dream. There's things that I like on the Wish. But at the end of the day, they're both fantastic ships. And I think any Disney Cruise Line ship is amazing. So there are things that I like more on one and more on the other. But, with that, let's get into it. So first up, we're going to talk about Embarkation. We got there super late, not planned. We had to pick up my son. We are local to Miami, so we picked him up from school, and I had to work. So we didn't get there till late. I was really nervous. My husband's like, we're fine. But I couldn't find a time of what time we had to be on the ship. There was no information as far as I know with Royal Caribbean what time I had to be on the ship. I couldn't find that for Disney Cruise Line. So that was a little frustrating. We had plenty of time when we got there. However, parking at the Port of Miami it took my husband, I want to say he dropped us off and it took him 25 minutes to get into the garage. let alone, and then he just went up straight to the top and got a parking all the way at the top. So, but it took him 25 minutes to get into the parking garage. And that was a little nerve-wracking because we weren't able to go through the security until we were all together. And it was taking him so long. Everybody else was having that same issue as well, but very, very frustrating to have the park. And that's not on Disney Cruise Line. That's on Port of Miami. But be aware, if you are parking at Port of Miami for Disney Cruise Line, it took a while. It took a while. And we got there. It was, I wouldn't say he probably got there around 2:45 was when he was heading into the garage. So, as far as getting on the ship, it was pretty normal. It did take a lot longer than we had at Royal Caribbean in recent months. There was a lot longer line to get through, but it wasn't horrible either. It wasn't bad. It was a lot longer than it was with Royal Caribbean. This was the first sailing that we didn't have to test. So that was fantastic. We didn't have to test. We just submitted our vaccination cards, submitted all our information. A lot of that was still in the Safe Passage portal, was already updated because we had just sailed on the Wish. But that removed a lot of stress from the sailing. So, well, I think that's the only way you're going to probably really prevent COVID from being on the ship. I'm fine with it because it's something we have to live with. So it took a lot of stress. We didn't have to worry about it. One less thing to worry about leading up to the cruise. So really happy about that. So Embarkation was great. And again, we got on late. That was on us. That's not on Disney. We went straight to our room. We didn't even eat because it was so late. We went straight to our room. I didn't really have time to unpack. And then we did our muster first. We did our muster and then we went straight to our room. And then we went to the spa raffle, which is something I always do. I love the spa raffle. Always, been very fortunate to win a couple. This one was, it was fine. It was great. We didn't win. So we walked in and there was a lot of people there. It was like, and you can see in the video, I was just like, yeah, this is not looking good. The thing with this raffle though, I understand that the spa staff wants to, get people excited about, what they offer and explain what they offer. This one just dragged on a lot longer than needed to be. And we have attended a lot of these and I know how they long and I think there's a sweet spot to where, you want to educate people on what your offerings are and then it just becomes where it's just wasted time. There's a lot, if you are, like me and you like going to spa raffles, just know that right now on the Dream with the staff that they have right now, the spa raffle is going to take like 45 minutes. It's not going to be a quick thing. It took 45 minutes because it dragged on. But unfortunately we didn't win, but they did give a lot of prizes. I think they gave 150, 100, and a $50. I think that's what they gave. So they gave 300, 150, 100, 100, and then a $50. So they gave 5 prizes, which was a good amount. I thought that was a really good amount. So really a lot of fun. Sail Away was fun. We did get there pretty early and we were kind of waiting and then they had held us back and then all of a sudden the other side let all these kids through. So we were able to get a front row seat, but we really had to rush because the other side let them in before our side. But we ended up having a great spot because we were front row and off to the side, but we had shade, which was fantastic because my son was in his Captain Mickey outfit and there was no Captain Mickey or Minnie in the Port of Miami. I had hoped there would be so that we could get that picture and then I could change him, but they weren't in the Port of Miami. And what I was told, it wasn't because we were late. They were never there. So I asked him if he wanted to stay in his outfit to take a picture with Captain Mickey and he said yes. So he stayed in it and he was, my husband kept saying, don't you want to change? Aren't you hot? And he was just like, no, he's a trooper. And we did get that picture with Captain Mickey. So that was really great. Now, as far as the meet and greets, this is kind of the whole cruise. The whole cruise meet and greets are long. You got to get there. That one, I think I got there 20 minutes before the meet and greet. You got to get there at least 15 to 20 minutes before the time. If you won't even, and there were times where they were cut off the line, like if the line started at 5:15, or the meet and greet started at 5:15, the line was already cut off by the time the meet started, because the line had gotten so long. So just keep that in mind, especially for special characters. There are times where they're going to get super long, and you need to get there early if there's a character you really want to see. Okay, so continuing on with character meets, the princess meet and greet was a good hour, I think. I want to say it was either 45 minutes to an hour, but it was long. I mean, our time was 9:15. It was Nassau morning, but I just brought my son's iPad and I put him over in the corner, had him sit, and I stood in line, and he was fine. I mean, he did it for mommy. I mean, he didn't really care. He enjoyed meeting them, and he was very good, and he interacted with them. But I was gonna dress him up, and I said, you know what, I'm picking my battles. I left him in a swimsuit, and he was fine. But we got some cute pictures, don't think like if you have an excursion like it, because there's two ports, if it's a 3-night cruise, you know, we got in line at 9:15, and I think we got out of line maybe at 10 or 10:15. I know it was like either 45 minutes to an hour, but it was long. It was not a quick. It wasn't like you go in there and you're quick. When we did Magic, it was super fast. But I remember from the Dream, it was really long when we did it back in 2016, and it was the same experience. So just keep in mind, like if you have an excursion or something planned, it's probably not something you're going to be able to do beforehand. Now, we did have the Sanderson sisters on our cruise. It was a Halloween on the high seas. However, when I got in line, and this was a picture that I wanted. I was going to grab my son, but then we were standing in line, and they said, so the rules for the Sanderson sisters was going to be different. There was not going to be any autographs. And then there was one pose per group. So if you were in a group of 8, you had to take a picture with 8 people. If you wanted everybody, you know, every person could only take one picture. So that was either in a group of 8, or you could take individual pictures, but you couldn't, like I couldn't go and take a picture by myself and then have my son and take a picture with him. It was just, you could only take one picture. So so I ended up, we just was like, you know what, I'm going to take my own. And then they came back and they said Minnie, as a Sanderson sister, was not going to be available. So Minnie was just not available. And then you saw throughout the day, all the Minnie meet and greets disappeared. So Minnie, don't know what happened. I kind of joked, maybe she got COVID, but Minnie was gone on our day 3 of our sailing. So she was not available. She did appear in the show that night for the Halloween show. But so she was not available. So Sanderson sisters, I just got the Clarabelle and Daisy, which was fine. A lot of people were really disappointed. And I'll be honest, I was a little disappointed too, because you could only get them on the Disney cruise. But I'm not a huge Hocus Pocus fan, so it wasn't a big deal. I was disappointed, obviously, for content. I wanted it, but you know, what was I going to do? I said, is she going to be available at any of because there was like 2 other meets, and they said, no, there will not be a Minnie today. And then on the Navigator app, it did change Clarabelle and Daisy as a Sanderson sister. So originally it said the Sanderson sisters, but then they changed it. So, and then all the Minnie meet and greets disappeared. So Minnie was out for day 3. And that is just, I mentioned that because, if you are booking a cruise for a specific character or to get it, the Sanderson sisters did appear when we were at Castaway Cay. So they did appear like at 1:45 the first day, but we were like, oh, they're going to appear the next day. We're not getting off the ship. We didn't want to have to get back on the ship to take a picture. I could have gotten that picture at that point. So, you know, if there's something that you really, really want, get it the first opportunity. You're going to have to pick and choose. I don't regret that. I don't regret not, you know, visiting Castaway Cay to get that picture, because it wasn't that important to me. Spending time on Castaway Cay was. So, but, you know, keep in mind that characters are never guaranteed. They're never guaranteed, and they're going to do, but, you know, characters get sick just like people get sick. And for whatever reason, I don't know the reason what happened, but there was no Minnie. And that also goes for little girls, because if you were waiting to take a picture with Minnie in her Halloween costume, or you're a little girl, you were trying to get pictures with every character, and your daughter loved Minnie and you just hadn't gotten it yet, Minnie was gone the rest of the day. So that's just something to keep in mind, that if there's a character that your child or you really, really want, get it as the first available opportunity, because you just never know what could happen. Okay, let's talk about dinner really quick. So the dinners, I thought the food on the Dream was fantastic. I personally, and my husband I think would agree, we liked our food, our meals as a whole, better on the Dream than we did on the Wish as a whole. 1923 was by far the best out of, all 6 meals. But between the other 3 meals that we had on the Dream were fantastic, whereas Worlds of Marvel and Arendelle were good. They weren't great, they were good, but the ones on the Dream were very good. We really enjoyed all 3 meals. Our server, Gabriel, was fantastic. We would ask him questions and he'd be like, okay, I gotcha. And, my husband would be like, I think I like this dessert. And he goes, okay, I'll get you that, but I think you're going to like this more. And he was always right. So he was fantastic. He made concessions for my son. He was above and beyond. So the food for us, as far as dinner was concerned, was definitely better than it was on the Wish. The day-to-day food, the I guess quick service, we preferred on the Wish, but that was because we pretty much just ate at that barbecue place. But I thought the Cabanas was great. Like, we ate Cabanas. I ate Cabanas a couple times. I thought it was good. My son and my husband both ate the pizza. They liked it. It was great. So no complaints there. I thought it was really good. Now, one thing I did miss with my son was the shows on the Disney Wish. And that is something where, even on the Magic, you had the Rapunzel's Royal Table. There's nothing on the Dream. There's nothing. It's just, even the Turtle Talk or, at Animator's Palette, Crush came over, but there was another family. There was kind of 3 tables. There was nobody in the middle table. And the adult on the other table was talking to Crush, and my son was trying to talk, but he wasn't really projecting, and Crush couldn't hear him, so he was pretty much just communicating with that lady. And then my son finally stood up and got closer, and then he swam away. But that was it. I mean, it was very minimal interaction. It really wasn't entertainment. As far as, I think that one's kind of comparable to Worlds of Marvel. Worlds of Marvel, my son was like enthralled the whole time. So the entertainment for the shows was much better on the Wish. And as a parent of a 6-year-old, I missed that because it kept my son entertained. Now, we kept him entertained. We brought his iPad, he colored, he did other things, but that was something that, we did definitely miss. Now, my son did the pirate makeover, and you may have noticed that he had a beard and then it disappeared. We were at dinner and we were taking pictures right after the pirate makeover, and we took pictures, and he was kind of just not into taking pictures. And he wouldn't say anything, but he just wouldn't smile. He wouldn't do anything. So then we sat down, and then he just told me, he goes, I don't like my face. And he was almost in tears, and it broke my heart as a parent. So they had given me a little makeup wipe, and I wiped off his beard, and then I started to go wipe off his eye makeup. He goes, no, I like that. I just don't like the beard. So we wiped it off. So that was the reason why. The pirate makeover before, when we had done it in 2020, it was like an option to just do like the makeup portion and like got a sword and everything. That is gone. So now it's like, and that was like $50. Now the cheapest one is $100. We got a vest, and he got a little parrot, the full makeover. It was a great experience. But again, with the makeup, he just really wanted the parrot. That's what he wanted. He just like, I just want the parrot. And he kept saying, when do I get the parrot? When do I get the parrot? He could have done with everything else. So it was great. I'm glad we did it, but we have since canceled it for the Wish. We had booked it for the Wish. We are not doing it on the Wish because it's just not what he wants to do, and I'm not going to make him do it if he doesn't want to do it. But that was the reason why his kind of beard disappeared. And, I think that you just kind of have to, as a parent, you have to kind of see what your, ask your kid and what they want. It broke my heart because he was really sad about it. But once we wiped off his makeup, he was a different child. So that's the reason why. But I really did like the experience. It was really fun. And I'm glad we did it, like I said, but we won't be doing it again. Castaway Cay was great. Just as always, no complaints. It was fantastic. The only thing I would say is I rented one of those like inflatable floaty tubes. Don't do it before. There's no cost. It's not cheaper. You can do it the day of. It's $13 before, it's $13 day of, and I probably wouldn't have done it. I reserved it because I thought maybe it was a little cheaper. It wasn't, and then the person wasn't there, and I had to track somebody down. And if I had done it, hindsight, I probably just would have, forgone it. And then I asked somebody at the front. I said, where do I get the tube? Is it only here? And he said yes. I was like, okay. So we went there, but then we walked all the way over to, I guess, Pelican Point, and there was one right there. So if you're going to where the slides are, just know that there's also floaties and tubes to rent there as well. So you don't have to drag it like I did. The aqueduct was fun. We each did it once. My son got to do it twice. I personally enjoyed the Aqua Mouse more. My husband enjoyed the aqueduct more. So, but for me, it was kind of a one and done. I think my son, he says he loved everything on the Dream more than the Wish, but I think it's just whatever ship he's on. But my husband preferred it more. I preferred the Mouse. So I think it's just personal preference. But it was fun. It wasn't, it was fun. It's definitely got a lot more drops and a lot more movement. I personally just enjoyed the Aqua Mouse more. Then there's the Midship Detective, and that's kind of a game, an interactive game that the kids can do. And my son kept wanting to do it, and then finally the midday of the last day, he's like, we're doing it. And I really wasn't prepared, but we did it. And we did the hardest one, which was the Muppets one. It was a lot of fun. My son loved it, absolutely loved it. And one of the best things I'll tell you is if you are a parent and your son or daughter does it, in the gift shop or Mickey Main sales, they have a pin that is the little detective. And what I did is I purchased that. It was $10. It was $10. Purchased it while he was at the kids club, and then when he came in the last night, I put it on his pillow, and he is so proud. We've been back a week now, and he has been wearing that everywhere. He brought it to school to show his friends, and he was like, I am the number 1 agent of the Midship Detective, and he is so proud of it. Obviously, I didn't tell him I bought it. Hopefully, I guess if he ever watches this, he'll see it. But it was the best $10 I ever spent. He was so proud of it. And it was something because when we solved the puzzle, and he was just like, okay, like, you don't get anything for it. You're like, okay, you solved it. So I wanted to make sure I gave him something. So my battery died. So as I was saying, yes, I would just say if you're going to do that and you want to get something to reward your child, know that they have this little pin that has a little Midship Detective, and it's $10, totally worth it. And I think it's a great way, like I did it at the end. It was the last night of our cruise, so it was a really great way to kind of reward my son to having solved the puzzle. And leading back to my son, Disney Oceaneers Club. My son loved it. He absolutely loved it. And we were really impressed with the Wish, but we really hadn't done a tour. We had toured the Magic, but that was really the only one we had toured before, and he was only 4. So we got to tour this one. We're like, oh wow, this one's it's got the Millennium Falcon, it's got all this stuff. He loved it, and he loved that there was the Oceaneer Club and the lab, and they connected. That's something that they don't have with the Wish, because I think they've just gotten rid of the lab. It's there, but it's all combined in the Oceaneer Club. But he thought that was really cool because sometimes it was closed and they could walk back and forth. So he loved it, and there was a couple times where we picked him up and he wanted to stay longer. So we were on the same deck as the Oceaneer Club, so that was deck 5. Highly recommend that. It's really made it really easy to go and pick him up, being on deck 5, being on the same deck as the Oceaneer Club. But he, again, absolutely loved it. The last night, he stayed until midnight. Like, I went to pick him up and he's like, I want to stay more. They were doing a 11:30 dance party, And so he stayed, and he was, I waited till literally 12 o'clock and picked him up, and he was so happy. So he had a blast there. The crew in the Oceaneer Club and the entertainment for the kids staff was just phenomenal. I can't say enough about it. So as far as Halloween on the high seas, it's kind of throughout the cruise, but then the main holiday for us was the Nassau Day, which was our last day. And so the first night they do the pumpkin lighting, which was really long. It was entertaining. But again, it was just really long. But my son loved it. Like they had an area where the kids could sit, so we let him sit. We couldn't see him. We kind of got a space on the staircase. We could not see him at all. But we kind of figured, okay, he's on a Disney cruise. He's not going anywhere. So he was fine. But it was entertaining. It was fun. And I think it was just something that added to the experience. We never saw any of the shows. I saw a little bit of Beauty and the Beast, but because we wanted to do other things, it wasn't a priority for us. I did get to see a good portion of probably about half an hour of Beauty and the Beast, but then we were going to go somewhere else, or he wanted to take a picture with Stitch. So I went and got in line for Stitch. So I had to, get out of, leave Beauty and the Beast, which was fine. It's not necessarily a priority for us. Match Your Mate, my husband and I entered it. I made him. And we did it. We did one similar on I think it was Oasis of the Seas, when we were like a year or two married, and so we haven't done it in 10 years. But it was a lot of fun. A lot of people knew our business, and we were getting recognized the rest of the cruise, like, oh, you were the ones on the Match Your Mate. You guys were so funny. So that was a lot of fun. But we got a free bottle of Prosecco, and it was just a fun. And I will say, those types of shows really depend on the host. The host is the one that makes it. And I cannot remember her name, but she was fantastic. Like, she interacted with us. She was just hysterical. So I thought she was fantastic. So she really made that show entertaining, regardless of that we were in it. But it was a lot of fun. Again, going back to the Halloween stuff, so they had the pumpkin lighting, and then the actual Halloween, they had Jack and Sally, but Jack and Sally were like at 3 o'clock. So they were at 3 o'clock, and they had characters throughout the day, but we wanted to go to the pool. It was only a 3-night cruise. So you kind of, if you want to do a lot of the Halloween characters in their costumes, you're going to have to forgo being at the pool or doing anything like, cruise related. So you're really going to have to pick and choose. The photo pass, or photographers stopped taking pictures, I think before after the first seating. So I think like the last picture was like at 5:45 or 6, because they have to start processing. So after that, there's no more photographers on the ship. So keep that in mind. Maybe there's throughout, but there were no characters. Like, it was very, very minimal. I think definitely by like 7 o'clock, there was no more pictures. So I would say 7 o'clock is kind of the cutoff for the photo pass. So just keep that in mind as far as if you're trying to time. They have 2 trick-or-treating times. They had our dinner was at 5:45. There was one that started at 5:30, and then there was one at 8 o'clock. But the show for the Halloween deck party was at 7:45. So we were going to get cut either way. So what we decided to do was to go to the one before our dinner. So we went to that one at 5:30. We went through it really quick and then went to our dinner, which for us worked out really, really well, because then we didn't have to worry about doing the trick-or-treating later. We were done. We went to the deck party. The deck party for the Halloween was kind of, my son got bored. We stayed for it for a little bit. It was cute. We were also on deck 12 because we got there late, and deck 11 was full. So we just went up to deck 12. But he was bored, and I looked at him and he looked bored, and I said, do you want to go to the kids club? And he said, yeah. So we didn't even stay for the whole thing. We ended up leaving. The pirate party was fun. I do like the party better on the Wish, but it was definitely fun. They definitely more interactive with the kids. The fireworks were fantastic. And, you know, it was just really, really fun. I mean, it was a really great cruise. It was a really great cruise. Definitely a different experience from the Wish. The Wish was just overwhelming. I was trying to get footage. I was trying to do as much as I could because it was the new ship, and I was trying to get as much as I could for my channel, where this was more of a family vacation. We enjoyed ourselves. We had a good time, and we did what we wanted to do. And, you know, I didn't have to worry about filming the spa or the fitness center because that's already been filmed before. You know, we went to our bar this time was pink. We did the sommelier bin a couple times, where I did it, not Ray, but I did it. And that was recommended. And I had, you know, twice I had Veuve Clicquot for $11 because they had done a tasting. The bottle was still open, so I was able to get a glass of that for $11, which was a bargain. We went up to Meridian. Meridian was okay. It was nice, but I definitely preferred pink. The district area was really nice. That was something that we really didn't experience the last time we were on it, which was 2016 when my son was 1. We probably went back there, but I didn't really remember it. Merchandise for Disney Wish and for, you know, exclusive Disney Wish or Disney Dream merchandise or Halloween on the Seas, High Seas merchandise was minimal. I really wanted to purchase something, and there really was nothing. So the only thing we got was the pin for my son. There was just really nothing that interested me. There was like spirit jerseys and clothing, but nothing that was exclusive for Halloween of the High Seas or exclusive to the Disney Dream. So I just didn't buy anything, which was a little disappointing because I like to kind of come back with something, but there just really wasn't any, thing that piqued my interest that was worth purchasing. But other than that, I thought it was a great cruise. Disembarkation was slow. What we heard later on was that the scanners that scan you, the facial scanners, broke down, and it took us 45 minutes. I heard later on it took people an hour and a half. I know of 2 people in our Facebook group that missed their flights because of it. So that's where you always plan a flight later in the day. Don't try and push it because you just never know what's going to happen. We got off the ship pretty decently. Like I said, it was 45 minutes. We were taking our son to a day camp because there was no school that day. And we tried to get out early so that we could get him to camp earlier. And, it didn't work out, but it was fine. But we weren't trying to make a flight. So there, like I said, 2 people missed their flights that we know of. And I heard the line just got longer and longer and longer, and the scanners went down. So that's something that can always happen. Not necessarily, that wasn't Disney Cruise Line, that's Port of Miami, but it's something that, to be aware of. And that's why if you're listening to your travel agents to when you should book a flight, it should always be late in the day to give you that cushion. So really great cruise. If you have any questions, I'm trying to think of anything I can talk about, but I think probably everything's been covered before. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Like I said, I am going to be doing a Disney Wish versus the Disney Dream video in the near future after we go back on the Wish during a regular sailing, because the one we did was a preview sailing. So I do want to be able to compare it to a regular sailing. And that video will probably be coming out sometime in December. So if you have questions, leave them in the comments below. And I guess with that, if you like this video, click like, click and subscribe. That way you get a notification every time I post a new video. Bye everyone.